So before we really get into the review, do you have any questions about either this game, Overwatch in general, how to train, how to handle a specific matchup, anything like that that you want to maybe discuss before we go through here?
Not beforehand, but I did write down some questions that I'll bring up when they become relevant in the demo.
Perfect, perfect. Who are we following here? Which is you?
The IGN is Haunted House. It's the Rhine.
Okay, Ryan it is. And what level game are we looking at here?
This is a gold game.
Okay.
Ready for battle. Five,
Okay.
3, 2.
You're not early peeking, good.
Is my defend objective
Okay, so talk to me about the decision to hold here at this specific choke. Are you aware of what their composition is? If people made callouts, or do you just feel like, hey, this is the place to go?
The latter.
Okay. So this place can be okay to play. It's not amazing. It becomes better if, say, you have a Mei, but the initial issue with this place is if you play here, I'm good with the opening fire strike, but if you play here, it lets them do some TP shenanigans, which aren't going to be fun for you, but that's not actually what we're really worried about. What we're probably more worried about is if they do any of the sort of widow type things, etc., you sort of encourage your backline to play in places to support you where she can chew them apart from the spawn rip. Now you might be like, okay, but if she goes here or here, she can still take them apart, and me playing here just lets these guys in for free, and the widow can still do her work from here or here. But the difference there is it costs a team like nothing for a Widowmaker to take shots from here and then go back and swap to the hero that they actually want to be on, right?
Mhm.
Whereas if they've grappled out here or out to here, they've used their grapple cooldown and they actually have to do the slow walk it back, go here, swap, go out here, etc. So like a Widow that's here or here is kind of a real Widowmaker pick, or at least an expensive Widowmaker pick, relatively speaking, compared to this, which is just like a very common thing for people to just try for a shot or two. And by, as Ryan establishing here, you were encouraging your team to play sort of here, sort of around statue, where they're going to get Widowmaker. So if you don't know that they don't have Widowmaker yet, or that their Widowmaker hasn't, given up and come down and swapped yet, this isn't really where we want to be, because that's too dangerous. Instead, what you're generally going to do is you can go for this opening fire strike, and then you're actually going to work your way back to here, because a Widowmaker isn't relevant to you or to your team if you're here and your team is playing around. Then once you've discovered that they don't have it, if you really want to get technical and really want to get advanced, you start holding around statue. You don't necessarily hold this choke, but you start holding around statue, and that's pretty good.
Mhm.
But this itself, this we don't particularly like. Are you sort of with me so far?
Oh yeah, totally, totally.
Okay, cool. And there's other things that they could do too that we wouldn't like. We wouldn't like if they sim TP'd, up to here and then dropped behind us and then we're stuck on the outside. We wouldn't particularly like it if they ran up here with a Mei, threw up a Mei wall like this, and then you're stuck. Like there's things that we wouldn't like, whereas we're safer from that for here. Again, we could wander up and play defensively around the statue, but that's after we know the Widowmaker is gone. Okay,
Yeah,
so go.
one thing I've been really struggling with is figuring out where to play, especially starting out, because it's the first big decision you make, and
Yep.
like making a bad decision right off the bat's pretty horrible.
That's true. That's true. I hope we've grounded that a little more in King's Row specifically. In general, we like chokes like this, but because their spawn can just see us from here, it doesn't work. But good, we can absolutely talk about that. And if you have other maps that you have questions on, I'm happy to answer those.
Oh sure, sure.
Enforcing your corner. Okay, so we're here. You're going for this. He goes for this, and you don't hit your counterpin, which is scary to me because, that in some days would pin you. I mean, pins feel inconsistent, but like that you didn't have the counterpin here is a little scary. And also, if you hit the counterpin, he collapses right here, right? So he gets stuck. You both fall over. But this guy's, well, okay, this guy's backline is a little scary. But in general, you'd want to hit the counterpin here to make him fall down where your team can see him. But the other thing is you haven't backed off yet when they've rotated all the way here. So you've really been cut off from your team, right? Like you were trying to enforce this corner, but you see, I'll rewind it so it's more obvious. Okay, so here we are.
Defend objective A.
You're doing this, fine. Okay, so maybe you're not aware of the Sim TP shenanigans that are going on here. Maybe you don't know, but you saw D.Va just went past. And now you're in this state where everyone is past and you haven't backed off to your new choke ult. You want to enforce corners. Enforcing corners is really good. But when you get into situations where you have to surrender them. And this is one of those situations where you have to surrender your corner and fall back to your next one just because they're already past you, right? And them being past you means that they're going to be able to force a concave on you, and that's really not what we want.
Yeah, that was my first major question that I wrote down, was when to abandon the maybe not the front line, but the corner that I'm enforcing and fall back to the next one. Because what I'd been thinking about lately was I'd seen a couple of your reviews where you talk about, don't abandon the front line to go swing on a ball that's just going to get away from you, or a Genji that's just going to get away from you. So like knowing when to say this corner's given up, I'm falling back to the next one, versus my team, one person pushed past, but my team can pounce on them. And
Got it. So it depends if it's someone that you can get back in front of you. I don't want you to pin back here to try to get into Genji that's here, but if you fall back to here, well, these are Junkrat and Symmetra. Like, those aren't heroes that are going to dive past you. Or this is D.Va, and you saw she already used her boosters. So these are heroes. Like, if you think about how Reinhardt works, I can't do this great because I can't share Epic Pen like this. Okay, so let's pretend that these are dive heroes, right? Let's pretend that this is Genji and Tracer and D.Va. D.Va's fine. And so these heroes have the option to dive onto your McCree here. What you as Reinhardt do when you're playing against dive is you sort of go, okay, if you guys dive past me, I could try to keep out your backline, or I could back up until I get the dive in front of me again, and then we push back forward like a death ball. Does that sort of make sense? Because Reinhardt works well in one direction. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. So you can sort of do that. Now, you're not going to go, oh, there's a Genji back here, let me go fight the Genji. But you could do a, hey, the whole team is pushed past, or most of the team is pushed past. Let me go back, get in front of them, and then push forward into them again. In a situation where I can push forward into them, I don't want to be back here swinging at something while their backline is just pelting me, though. I want to go, okay, let me get so everyone is in front of me and then push back forward. And I mean everyone on the opposing team, not everyone on your team. So that would be the thing. In terms of when to surrender it, it's when it's when you are in threat of being overwhelmed, and whether you recognize it or not at this point, you are very much in threat of being overwhelmed. You have a Lucio behind you. You have a Reinhardt right here. The Lucio behind you is scary, but not enough. But also these guys being here means they can easily turn and just make you very, very unhappy, and you're not protecting your team anymore. So you surrender the corner when they have, if they've pushed past the corner like they have here, or if you're in a situation where I've been taxed too hard, I'm too low on resources, I need to give space to let my team poke more, and then let me do the next corner. I'm falling too far behind. We're just falling behind. I can't hold this anymore. I need to fall behind and go to the next corner. Is kind of the answer to the question.
Makes sense.
Team might be in it.
Not give up their fight.
And now they're not going to be in it. Okay, so I get it. You want to go for the Reinhardt, and I totally understand why you want to swing at the Reinhardt, but you could probably delete the sim pretty quick, right?
I think I do turn tour, but I don't remember.
Good.
It's either this one or the next fight that I do.
Oh yeah, you do. Okay. This is good. Now you're just going to have to enforce that other corner. Okay. You probably don't want to be backing up during this because even though you might feel like you're behind in this fight, you have a coalescence going, and your Moira wants to get coalescence value out of this, both healing you and hurting opponents. So you sort of want to be going, hey, I don't love that she's picked this Lucio, and I wouldn't recommend you go after this Lucio. I would actually recommend that you try to keep pushing into this because she's going to have another 4 or 5 seconds of coalescence to heal and hurt you while you're to heal you and hurt whatever you're swinging at. So like, if you're going to turn this fight, you need to be sort of getting value while this ult is going, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be going, hey, if she can eliminate the Lucio, that's cool, but you as Reinhardt, your goal is I'm going to push forward. I don't like fighting this sim that has a ramped up beam, but it's already ramped up, so I'll push up with my shield up, and I'll go fight her while my coalescence is going, and that'll help keep me up and help take her down faster. So that's what we'd be looking to do rather than back off here.
Just a quick micro question. When
Sure.
pushing a sim who's beaming, is it better to just take the damage or let her get the shield? Or I mean, I assume that's dependent on a lot of things, but maybe in
Dependent
that situation.
dependent on a lot of things. In that specific situation, you were going to shield. You were going to shield and let her recharge her ammo, and that's fine because she isn't going to. Her reloads aren't long enough that she's going to drop a ton of beam rank. You know, a ton of like rank 1, rank 2, rank 3 beam. Her reloads aren't long enough as long as she can basically immediately start zapping you afterwards. And so you just taking it on your body doesn't really make sense, right? Like, oh, well, I'm gonna try to not let you shoot my shield so that you can't reload doesn't really make sense if you have to stay close enough to her to swing at her. Now, if you're in a situation sort of like the one you were in here, where, hey, she's far enough away and I can actually stop her from hitting me or my shield, yeah, you should absolutely go, I'm going to let your beam rank down before pushing in. You just couldn't this time because your coalescence was on a timer.
Okay.
But you're absolutely going to go, I'm going to block you, and, you know, I'm not going to block you and just let you charge energy off of me, but I would rather you hurt my shield than me as I advance on you to swing at you if I'm choosing to swing at you through a charged beam.
Makes sense. Okay.
Okay, you went for your Fire Strike cancel 1 early there, but that's okay.
Yeah, as a free, just gonna get out of hammer range.
Yep. This is the right corner to enforce now, just because of where your team is. We do need that destroyed, though. Otherwise, the same exact thing is going to happen. Okay. Okay, so the sim is past you, and now they've dealt with the sim. So can you hold this corner anymore? What do you think your team is without us actually checking out?
I think they're probably on the point.
Right, and if they're on the point from having just dealt with the Symmetra, like, we don't really want to be here anymore. Maybe we take a swing and then back off, but we probably need to be backing ourselves up to this corner where they can actually support us better.
Yeah, this game was before I saw your video on the Rhine bending rather than breaking, and
Yep.
so I do a lot of breaking.
Okay,
in
all
this
good,
game.
all good. Well, if one video was enough for you to master bending, not breaking, then you're about to have a really good time.
I've been trying it lately, it's been working well.
Good, good. Okay.
Yeah, I felt very bullied there.
But that's okay. I mean, you know, you just do what you can to absorb it. Again, I'd have liked you to fade back there to the fresh corner because I think you could have bent more. I mean, you could have bent more at the next corner than you had room to bend at the first corner, but that's okay. Okay. I don't generally like this, what you just did here. Okay. I don't like this when he's right here. Fire striking from corners is great, but if you fire strike from a corner that he's at, there's the possibility that he's going to pin you, that he's going to shatter you, that he's going to do any of these bad things to you. And, you know, you can try to close the corner fast enough if you see one of those happening. But in general, if he's this close, why are we fire striking him rather than just swinging our hammer?
Yep. There's a couple point-blank fire strikes in this video.
Okay.
This is, again, before I
All
started
good,
talking about
all
point-blank
good.
fire strikes.
Okay. Is your team here? Is your team in a place where you can enforce this? Yes, yes, it looks like they are. Good. Okay. just enforce this corner. You're still fine. Right idea. You generally will go for fire strikes on tires. Does exactly enough to break them. This still isn't bothering you. I probably wouldn't have been as aggressive as you were with the fire strike there, but that's okay. This might feel bad. This might feel bad, and it's a little annoying that they've been able to inch the cart up far enough that he was able to do that. That probably shouldn't have really happened. But this isn't the end of my world. And the other thing is, you know what you could have done to immediately stop this from working?
Earth shattered the other Rhine?
Exactly. He can't shield. You had the option to Earth Shatter him to stop this follow-up.
Yeah, as I was swinging on that Rhine, I was kind of kicking myself for not Earth shattering him.
Yep. All good. Okay, so I'm actually, speaking of Earth Shatter, you're not winning this fight right now, are you?
No, we're down 2. They're only down 1.
So it's a close fight, and you have Coalescence going, but you just saw they have Nano going. So it's absolutely worth it to shatter under the cart and flatten these 3 people right here, right? Like, that's something that we probably need to do.
Yeah, I was worried, I think, that I wasn't going to be able to follow up on it. So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
and it's true, you're probably not going to get the perfect follow-up. If you shatter these guys, you're not going to immediately be able to walk up and kill all 3 of them. Some of them are going to get away. But if you can even get one of them, that's going to be some value. You are going to do some damage to them, and your Moira's going to do some more. So she is going to be some of your follow-up on this. And you also kind of need to do it to peel the pressure. Like, that's not a great use of Earth Shatter, but even if you just go up here and get a swing on 2 of them and you don't get any eliminations during your shatter, or you hit your shatter, you fire strike as you're walking up, maybe you get a swing, maybe you don't. It's not a great use of shatter as like a delaying thing, but it does apply some peel pressure, and your team is kind of going to need some peel pressure, because if these guys push into this, you're not going to be happy. But maybe you'll find a better fire strike. Or a better shatter.
Oh, I wouldn't be so sure.
Okay.
A common theme is some pretty bad shatters in this game. Holding on to shatter too much and then having bad shatters.
Yeah, yeah. So far I agree based on what I see. Okay. Turn and shield. Good. I mean, that shadow was fine. I don't know why you're swinging so hard anymore, but... Boom. You're probably still in just have to hard shield and back up territory, right? Like, you did your work, but you can see they've clearly pushed past you, so you just need to be like, I'm going to shield and try to back up and play this corner now, is basically where you are.
I think I felt like nobody was with me, so I thought just sort of go down swinging on the point.
Okay. Oh, I guess that is true. No, that is true. You had less people than I thought you had. I thought you had a little more here. I didn't think that last fight had gone quite as bad. You are correct. Just going down swinging on the point is right. Good. If that was the case, though, we probably didn't want to shatter. But not a big deal.
Yeah, when I shattered, I thought we had it, and then after I shattered, I realized, oh, I'm alone.
Yep.
Oh, that is a Ryan question that I had. I want to shatter when I know that, you know, my team's with me. I don't want to shatter alone. But it feels like the window for a good shatter can be so split second. Like, Ryan drops a shield for an instant to fire strike. I can shatter. So it's hard to balance. Find that tiny window and make sure you got your team with you. The best solution that I could think of is like shatter early in the fight. When you check, you see your team with you before the fight starts. When you shatter quickly into the fight, you can be reasonably sure that your team's with you. That's like the best.
So shatter is a tough ult. Shatter is definitely a tough ult because you can't just force it. The window has to actually be there to get shatter value. And
Yeah.
what you end up doing to try to make shatters work is you go, okay, I want to shatter when my team is here. I want to shatter when it's not a 1v6, when it's not a 2v5. Like, I want to shatter in reasonable situations. If I can shatter in a 6v6 and hit the shatter, that is great, but those are hard to find. You'll find shatters are easier to hit in two situations. Shatters are easier to hit when the opponent is shatters are easier to hit later in fights, but that can be okay, because if you hit a shatter into like a 4v4, that's still reasonable. It's just not always the case that the fight is going to break down in such a way. And the
Mhm.
reason it's easier is because Rhine shields are weaker, resources that people would protect themselves with, like Fade, like Ice Blocks, boosters, things that would make them harder to do there. Plus, they'll have pushed in more. Like, shatters get easier later in the fight. That's not me saying that all of your shatters should be late in fights, but that's one thing. The other thing that makes shatters easier is like, hey, I'm going to do a shatter that the opponents wouldn't expect. Like, my backline is right here. If you jumped around the corner and shattered them, you might hit a shatter because they wouldn't expect you to shatter. That wouldn't make that a good shatter, though, because your team couldn't follow up on it, right? So, unfortunately, the two easiest times to get shatters are when it would be silly to get a shatter and later in fights. And it's more impactful if it's early in the fight and if your team is there. So, we sometimes will have to break our soft rules here, but the general answer to you is going to be you just do the best you can to track, is my team here when I start the fight, at least for now, and how has the feed gone? Have we lost? Has there been a lot more red than blue in the feed? Okay, there has been a lot more red than blue in the feed. Maybe I don't want to shatter. The feed's been pretty even. I probably do want to shatter. Let those sort of be your two guiding things for now. Does that help or no?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't like that fire strike, but not only do we not like that fire strike, is your team really ready to push yet? Maybe.
I was worried about the cart.
Yep. You're gonna have to push out and use card as your new cover now. Probably gonna have to go use card as your new cover. Oh, you're getting pushed back. Yeah. So you just needed to go, once the card actually got close enough, you just needed to go, maybe you swing, maybe you shield, whatever, to get to use the card as your cover, and now you're trying to swing this way from the card. Yes, there's people here, but they don't have a Rhine shield, and you hope your team will deal with them.
Okay.
Fire's will.
This is just tough. Usually you try to make it so that you're on a different angle than your team, so that, they're in a situation where they're not directing their attention and their resources at both you and their team, unless you're worried about him shattering. And you might be worried about him shattering. You're both at 90% ult charge, so you could be worried about him shattering.
I think I was worried about general damage, like pushing through that sort of death ball.
Yeah, and you were purple too, I get it.
Join me.
Hello.
Activate.
I cast this spell. Where does it hurt?
Here I felt pretty uncomfortable. You saw that like hesitation there,
Mm-hmm.
because I wasn't sure which corner to play. Like I wanted to push in there, like you saw, but then I thought, no, my backline can't see me there, so I
Yep.
came back around to here. But you see how that's kind of like a big, like there's so much room that they
Yep.
have where they can just hug the opposite wall and just make my life miserable, so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure
So this is the
exactly.
right corner. This would be a corner to throw a fire strike through. Like, this is a quick peek through a fire
Mhm.
strike. This is the corner you play. It's not the strongest corner in the world for a couple reasons. One of which is it's pretty easy for people to get on your flank because this exists. And the other
Mhm.
of which is, yes, it is a wide corner, and wide corners are weaker than, or it's a wide pathway, and corners on wide pathways are weaker than narrower pathways. That said, it's still your best bet, and it just gets you into a situation where you go, I'm going to enforce this as best I can. If they try to do a wide rotation out here, your team is still going to get the poke advantage on them. Like, if you think of your corner here, your backline gets to spread out like this. Their backline is spread out like this. If you push through, their backline gets to punish you. If their Reinhardt wants to push here your backline punishes him even if you can't. If he pushes here, you get to punish him with your backline. If him and his backline push here so that there's a minimal advantage for your backline punishing him versus their backline trying to punish you or your backline, like they all stack together and try to rotate here. That's what you're worried about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if that's the situation, you get to walk forward and you get to swing at 4, 5, 6 people, and the Reinhardt counter swings back at one person. Now, you still are in like, hey, there's a lot of damage, a lot of danger, a lot of risk to your life because like everybody is going to shoot at you, but everybody on your team is getting to support you and shoot at them too, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what you end up doing in wide situations like this is you just go, okay, if you rotate here the normal way, I'll just swing at you. If you try to, like, stack rotate here, I'm going to just step forward and fight you. And if you just rotate with just your Reinhardt here, you're going to laugh and go, okay, well, now my backline gets to shoot at you, and your backline can't shoot at me or my backline. So, those are
So
kind of the scenarios. Go ahead.
yeah, two quick two questions because that was a pretty burning. This whole wide corner thing is
Mm-hmm.
a pretty burning problem for me with Reinhardt.
Okay.
Number one, if I'm unable to swing on anything while I'm holding this corner, I know we hate firing platform Ryan, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do if I can't do anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
Do I tuck back around a corner? Do I put up the shield to stabilize?
No. You
You know.
play right here. You occasionally
Hmm.
throw fire strikes through here. You occasionally throw,
Hmm.
fire strikes through here, and you just go, I'm not going to give you guys shield. I'm not going to give you guys shield to shoot at because it's not relevant. Like if you're here, it's a situation of, hey, you don't need to give them shield to use yet because they can't actually push you yet. If they're shooting at you, you're like, no, I have this corner, I'm fine. You can't hurt me. And if they can hurt you, well, you might need to take another step back, or you can, if they can't hurt you, it might be because they're close enough that you can swing at them. But that's really what you're looking to do. If you have teammates who, want to play like right here and use it, maybe you could do a little firing platform for them. But honestly, I would rather you have your full or most of your full resources when they actually get to this corner. Because when they get to this corner, you'll fight them. And at this point, you're not going to stop the cart before the corner. So it's just like, yeah, that's fine. Like I'm totally fine here. There isn't what you're describing as an issue isn't really an issue. Like you feel like, oh, it's downtime, but what? It's downtime for 3 seconds while the cart pushes to a point at which you're going to contest it. Who cares, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The second question is like we've talked about, okay, one person takes a wide corner, who cares? A whole team takes a wide corner, I walk up and I get to cleave. What about that horrible Goldilocks where it's like three people take the wide corner, but three people are there to absolutely ruin me if I walk forward?
Well, who are those 3 people? Are those 3 people
I
like
know.
Reaper,
But it's happened.
Diva, Reinhardt? No, you're probably not going to walk into that. Are those 3 people with something squishier, like let's say Junkrat, McCree, Sim? Or okay, it can't be all 3 of those, but like Reinhardt, McCree, Sim? You probably need to walk up and swing on those, right? Like
Yeah.
that's sort of the answer. Where it's like, okay, if those 3 people are like squishy, if it's got a high squishy density, especially a high squishy density with a high damage output or a high value output, okay, we probably want to go swing on it. If it's a bunch of bulky things, like, look, it's a Reinhardt and a Roadhog and Moira, well, you're never actually going to get the Moira in that, and the Reinhardt and the Roadhog you don't want to advance on. So you don't mind advancing on, but you're happy to just let your team continue to poke that out in a more shield war, and at that point you do just become the firing platform. You do just go, okay, well, I guess I'll put my shield up and let my team shoot at you. I'm not going to let the guys over here shoot at my shield, but I'll put my shield
Hmm.
up to let the 3 of you that rotated out here, and of course we're going to win that shield war.
Okay. All right. And if we do start losing that poke phase, then it's time to fall back to the next corner, or
You have to make the call. Is there another corner
okay.
I can fall back to? No, there's not. I guess I'm gonna go die on cart.
Gotcha.
Or maybe, I see that we're losing the shield war, so I'm gonna push up and swing into you even though I don't love it, and I'm gonna now use this cart to block me off from your backline. So like you guys are here, the cart's right here, your backline is back here. Well, I'll use the cart as my cover against your backline while swinging into you, and my backline can still support me.
Okay. Thank you. I know that got like super nitnoid and
That's fine.
hypothetical, but
But you
it's
need to
like it's
understand it.
become relevant.
Right. You need to
Yeah.
understand it even if it doesn't come up. Even if it doesn't come up super often, you need to understand it because understanding it will tell you how to handle the other situations.
Absolutely, and it comes up all the time on Hollywood A for me on defense.
Oh yeah,
That first, yeah, I hate that thing.
I get it. Okay. So are you just gonna flag shatter him?
No, I should have.
He'd have lost track of you. I bet you could have. That said, what would the problem of that have been?
Well, the sim wall there would have made it very hard for my back line, or
Exactly.
impossible
Your
for my
team
back line
wasn't going to
to.
follow up. So what corner can you retreat to? Because you pretty
That,
much have to retreat. This is gone. They've
yeah,
forced this with the symbol. So your next corner is this over here. This is your next corner.
yeah, I chose poorly.
Yeah, the cliff is not your next corner. Oh,
Oh
oh,
wait, no, maybe.
okay. Didn't get any bubble value, but hey. Now you're gonna shatter. Okay. You're missing too much, yeah. Okay. Unfortunate.
Do you mean missing too many people, or was I like missing the swing?
No. Sorry, what did I say missing was?
You said you're missing too much, unfortunate, or something like that.
Oh, this. No, I was expecting you to, so if we go back further here. I don't mind the shatter that you hit. I was expecting us to get the shatter on the Nano Reinhardt. That's what I was more expecting as opposed to this. I
Okay.
don't mind this, but the shatter on the Nano Reinhardt, like he locked himself into the charge animation, and you have cover from his team right now, so you can't get slept or anything. So it's pretty easy for you to go. You're gonna be here. You're stuck in this charge. You're gonna be here, and I'm gonna shatter you, and you're pinning in my shatter, and you fall down, etc. Type thing. And now
Yeah,
maybe I'll
I
pin
think.
through and pin you over here or whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't go for that was I didn't realize my shatter would reach that far.
This far it would reach you. It doesn't go too much
Yeah,
further,
I
but you
didn't
had a
realize.
window. Yeah, all good.
Yeah, I thought he was a little out of range, so I went for the back line instead.
Yep. And the backline shatter is potentially fine, but unfortunately we didn't get the sim with this, and I probably wanted the sim, because while the Anna, it's nice to get the Anna, if I get the sim here, that actually stops a ton of damage, and you see you've got the cart between the Anna and the sim, so you can for sure eliminate this sim by yourself. Like, you don't need team follow-up, you can eliminate this sim by yourself if she's part of your shatter, whereas you can't do squat to that Anna over there. Like, it's totally up to your team to get that elimination, right?
Yeah,
And the sim, if you
that,
think about a priority list of who to eliminate, like in general, your team would need to go after this sim before this Anna, and you can do this because it's not like you can keep a 200 HP hero up through serious focus fire on it, especially through a shatter, even with giant Anna heals, right?
yeah, yeah.
So we needed the sim here.
I don't remember if I just missed the sim or if I made the decision to go for the Anna route.
I think you were just being greedy.
I think I just missed.
I think you were just being greedy here, where what you did is you went, hey, I'm going to hit my shatter. Can I get all of them? Will this be all of them? I
Yeah.
think you want all of them here. And the truth is,
Yeah.
oh, and then you even micro adjust a little to the right, when the truth is I'd have preferred you micro adjust a little to the left. Like, if you can get all of them, great, but you got to get the sim. Yeah. Okay. We're going to keep on going here. They got all the way through, but that's okay. You're going to go faster.
Ready for battle. Attackers incoming.
Okay, so I'd say what's actually given you the most trouble here is, in this match so far, is something you know, which is this, okay, I'm going to fall back to the next corner when I'm surrounded, when they're overwhelming me with pressure, etc. But you now know that, so that's good.
You mean not doing that enough?
Yes, not doing that enough. The concept is what I was referring to.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're here. Where's your team?
Probably back at the choke.
Basically,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little before.
Yeah. So this isn't amazing. And this is conceptually like, okay, I wandered across, I took this, and I get that. But then you need to go, if you were like Roadhog or Zarya, this would be correct. You'd go, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to threaten them, and the threatening of my hook, my right clicks, my beam, my sigma damage, whatever, is going to be enough to draw some eyeballs over here, and that is the right way to protect my team to help them get across this choke. You're not Sigma, you're not Roadhog, you are not Zarya, you are Reinhardt. Just walk back and get them. I know I constantly harp on, your shield is for you to rotate, not your team, etc. And that's true. But the reality is here, your team had no way of keeping up with you. You got knocked forward by Junkrat mines, etc. And you were just out too far in front of your team to start with effectively here for them to do this. Like, we say yes, go, but we would usually do like a pushing in 3, 2, 1, shield up and get them here. And now you're over here. Yes, you can hit a cheeky fire strike here if you want, but really you need to go back here and go, okay, I'm going to help them across like this, right?
Yeah, breaking through chokes was a question that I had. Like, the way to do that, and I'm guessing that's answered with the okay, we're going in 3, 2, 1, shield up, push, everybody get on the Rhine bus, go to the next piece of cover,
You
whatever,
got it.
whatever.
You got it. It exactly
Okay.
becomes pushing statue in 3, 2, 1. And you push statue, you go here, you drop, and now you have to be careful because it's going to be really tempting for you to keep going or for you to go, I have 600 shield HP, I now have 800 shield HP, let's push again. We're making progress. Well, no. If your shield got chunked a lot in this push, you need to get more of it because it's going to get chunked again as they fade away from you, etc. So you then have to stabilize here for a moment, and then you do your next push. And maybe this is to another piece of cover, or maybe this is to the opponents that you're then going to fight.
Yeah.
But I like to recommend 3,
yeah.
2, 1 counts, and I like to tell them as you're pushing where you're pushing to. So, we're pushing statue, we're pushing Reinhardt, we're pushing Diva, we're pushing Hotel.
Okay, and it's okay to not be like constantly M1ing because I don't have I'm not enabled to yet, basically.
Not constantly be M1ing.
Swinging my hammer.
Yeah, I mean, swinging your hammer isn't really doing you any good unless you're in range of opponents that you can hit, right? And you're just not there yet. So, like, you could be enforcing a corner. If you're afraid of these guys pushing you, you could be M1ing around this corner here into where your Zarya or Lucio is standing. But I'm not really worried about them pushing you yet because I can see the defense matrix in the Rhine Shield, and that tells me where those guys are.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, this is annoying, but is actually one of those things where you probably just do, okay, I don't want to go stand here and get shot in the back by this, though I'll do that if I have to, but you just go, was the sim turret shooting you guys when you were here, or was that too bushwise? Let's just check.
Don't think they have.
Oh, it wasn't. Or not the sim turret, the torp turret. No, the torp turret doesn't shoot you when you're here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is annoying. I'll deal. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't love having to do that, but I felt like somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, in real play, you'd actually just sort of do, once you knew it was here, you'd go right, and then you'd sort of restabilize here while their team dealt with it, and then you'd push from here. This isn't normally part of your push rotation, but for the turret, it would have been. Or it can be, because you could then just go, well, forget that, and we're going to go this way, and we're going to go this way. And now what are you going to do? We've turned the map around on you. But hey. Ouch. Ouch. These Zarya bubbles are not your friend. You make the best of the bubble with a fire strike. Okay. This is fine. You go for a swing. How's your health?
Still got some armor.
You've still got some pretty solid armor, and you've got a mercy beam attached to you. I want to swing again. Nope. I wanted to swing again. I don't want you to just... You're stabilizing right now, and I don't need you to stabilize yet. I wanted you to put more pressure on them. That said... Okay, good. You see you got a little delayed there in your push up when they were backing up. You sort of just stabilized here. You did maybe you did a step or two of the Rhine dance before you pushed up and went, I want this. Or pushed up and went, I want the opponent to swing at.
Yeah.
okay, I don't like the fire strike. Yeah, I don't like this. Again, I don't even like how deep you went here. Like, this was fine. You've already won by taking this corner, right? Because by taking this corner, they have to push past you to get the point, and you're instead going, I'm going to push back the corner and let your whole backline interact with me. And we don't want that. We're perfectly happy to be like, nope, I'm here. You have to push back or we win.
Right. And I got pinged for it.
Yep. Okay. Okay, you can swing at this Junkrat. Like, I know I say, you know, this isn't really in your backline yet. Like, you can come over and swing at this, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Here, I wanted to push up and take that corner, but I didn't feel like I could.
Yeah, you definitely
so
couldn't.
You see me like walk a little forward
Yep.
and then fall off.
Yep, and that's fine. I don't mind if you go, I want something, and then go, wait, that's not doable, and then go, nope, this is what I want. That's fine.
happened.
I like this less. So, we talked about that, but this, I feel like you really knew that this wasn't actually something you were going to be able to push into the whole time. The first window, sure. This time, and you even see you're doing a little bit of the dance. I don't know if I rewound far enough, but here we are. Let's go one more.
Oh, yeah.
So this is fine. You were pushing up in my mind thinking I'd like more, but I can't get it. Then you go up here again with your fire strike. And I don't know what the plan was because, like, you go up with the fire strike, which you went too deep for a fire strike in the first place. But maybe you were thinking you were going to get a bubble after the fire strike, so you were going to want to swing. But the Zarya gives you exactly the bubble you would want if that's the scenario, and that's the only plausible reason I can think for you to be up there. But you're immediately pivoting backwards. So I'm like, as you get the bubble. So, like, clearly you weren't expecting the bubble because you wouldn't have been pivoting backwards if you get the bubble. So you're doing a Rhine dance is what you're doing.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the bubble, and then when I got it, as soon as I realized I had it, it was.
Oh yeah. I get the
felt like too
final
late.
double back that you did there when you're like, oh, I should go forward again, but it's too late. It's just you shouldn't have been up there in the first place. Like the Zarya's bubble, that's the first time I might be saying this. It's not really the first time, but like that Zarya bubble was correct, unlike a lot of Zarya bubbles that you have gone, because that's how I would have read your interpretation. That's how I would have interpreted your actions too. How she did, or how I think she did.
I might have been thinking, let me get my ult, like let me get this last one off to get my ult. I don't remember.
Okay. I don't really like this yet. And the reason I don't really like this yet is I still think you're early on this push. I'm perfectly happy to use the cart as my shield if they aren't enforcing it. So, like, unless they're actually going to touch the cart to stop it, let's use the cart. Because right now, the cart is splitting you and your backline. And that's not really something you want. You either need to be further in front of the cart where your backline is then on and around the cart, or you need to be behind the cart where the cart is replacing your barrier and the cart's not blocking you and your backline.
Got it.
Did you know he didn't have Shatter there? I
think I was fairly confident he didn't because we won that fight on the point.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't see him doing a lot of damage.
Fine. Okay, can you take another corner? You're just kind of doing this cart push thing, and I really think you could have taken this corner and you wouldn't be cutting yourself off from your backline, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I do push up to that corner.
Good. Well, okay. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend it's the best corner in the world, but it's still worth using. you still kite. This is a tough calculation. Why am I saying you still kite?
Meaning like back up swinging the hammer?
Back
What do you
up.
what
You
do you
don't
mean by
necessarily.
kite? Sorry.
So kite effectively means I expect the enemies are going to push into you right now, and what I would like you and
Mm-hmm.
your team to do is to kite backwards, to sort of go like,
Oh, I
no, we're
see. I
going to
see.
stay out of your range. Maybe we're going to back up to this corner. Maybe we're going to keep backing up, and then we're going to push in after something happens. We don't like this aggression that you guys are doing, so we're not going to stand firm and fight it. We're actually going to kite. We'll do damage to you as we're retreating with like right clicks and torb shots and McCree
Mm-hmm.
shots and all that stuff. But why do I want you kiting right now?
Because every second that passes that they can't get value out of the beat is good for us.
Yeah, well, what do they have going besides the beat right now?
The Torb ult.
Yeah, they have the Torbolt going. They actually now have the Junkrat too, but even before that was going, they have the beat going and they have the Torbolt going. But you popped something on your team that made this a little complicated. Did you hear it? We can replay this. Let's go back because you're right now looking at my UI, not thinking about the game. So let's. Okay, we're about to go. Here we go. Okay.
The Valk.
Yeah, so you guys are using Valk, which would usually be a power play signal, but they're using Beat, which is about half the duration, but stronger than Valk, I'd argue, for its duration. Not I'd argue, it is stronger than Valk for its duration, though they do different things in some ways. They can both be used as enabling support ults, though, and they're also having the Molten Core going. So you probably at least want to you want to kite them because there's more likely, if they chase you, you're going to be fighting out of lava territory, and that would be pretty cool. B, the lava will eventually wear off. C, the beat will run out faster than the Valk, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we want to kite this. Even though it means we don't get to enforce our corner anymore and corners are strong, there's enough of a difference here that we want to kite this.
Now, in that situation, do you want hard shield and hold S, or do you want like jump backwards, flashing shield, like?
I'd probably do a shield hop backwards thing with flashes, but it's going
Mm-hmm.
to depend. Like that's probably what I do, but it depends how much attention is being paid to you, and it also
Gotcha.
depends how much your team is backing off. Like I'm saying kite, but you probably have to announce kite because if you don't announce kite, if these two just stay here and don't kite back a little bit themselves, it doesn't really work, right?
Right. I
So
think I was also afraid of like splitting off from my Zarya Torb
yep.
too.
Yep,
Like,
valid
yeah.
concern. That makes kiting back harder. It absolutely does. Especially because these guys have a Lucio, and they could, with their Lucio, commit on your friend. So you want to kite back a little bit, but you might have to turn and push right back in if they push at them. How this ends up working is if they push you, no big deal. Hopefully these guys recognize it and push in into their flank as a result. If they push your friends when you guys are kiting, you then go back and you push into their flank when they're doing it, right? So then you have a nice pincer on them. It's actually pretty hard to push into this. And it's true, you can't kite like back to here or anything, but even kiting for a
Mm-hmm.
couple seconds is going to help tilt this fight, is going to help make the situation better.
Yeah, all that makes sense, but I really doubt that in the moment I have like the awareness to have been able to like realize that at
Oh,
the
I
level
don't
that
doubt
I'm
it.
at right now.
I absolutely don't doubt it. And I'm not even saying you're going to for sure get that next time. This is a thing that we're identifying, and we're seeing if, hey, do you need to be thinking more about kiting? And you probably do need to be thinking more about kiting because kiting is also kind of what we do when we surrender a corner to pull back to another corner. But this was a different application of it.
Right, right.
Enemy contact.
Here, I felt uncomfortable because I knew that Zarya was to the right, and I knew that
Mm-hmm.
if I pushed out into this T junction, then I'd have a Zarya on one side and the team on the other. So I wasn't exactly sure what to do. So I just decided I'm going to go to the right and clear it if I can, but I don't think that was right
It
because I
wasn't.
cut myself off.
It wasn't because now they all get to shoot you in the back, right? Like this is bad
Yeah.
because they all get to shoot you in the back. So here's what the actual right answer was. Well, forget that. We're going to go up here. We're going to rotate out here, and we're gonna, have the high ground and roll you. Or we're gonna go this way, and if we come out here, that completely changes their angles, right? That Zarya doesn't have an angle on you. You're not surrounded anymore. You've made it so that they're all looking at you. You're fighting one angle now instead of two, right?
Yeah.
Or, we could do this.
Sometimes people aren't willing to get on the Rhine bus.
Of course. And
Yeah.
that's fine. And in that case, your answer becomes, hey, if they're just not willing to do that, I can sort of enforce this corner. I can sort of do this. And then we don't like this, but what you do as your short little cheat is you would go, okay, I'm putting my shield out here for a second while I'm yelling clear Zarya, clear clear Zarya, clear Lucio, whatever I want. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a little bit of shield out here, or I'm going to enforce this. Like, I'm enforcing with my hammer. I'm going to turn and enforce it with my shield. I'm not going to stand right here, but I'm going to enforce it a little with my shield to give my eyes a little room to step out to try to clear these people, to either make them leave or eliminate them. And then from there, we can go, okay, maybe if we eliminated them, I just pull back and recover resources, and then we push into 6. If we push them back, I might choose to push with my team now in this direction and now call Rhine, or push, or whatever, while these two have retreated back here to lick their wounds or whatever, right? Because then you go, I'm missing 600, 800 shield, whatever, but they're missing 2 people for a couple seconds. I don't want them to come back with health, so I'll push with less shield because that was an acceptable resource trade to me. So it's not the best solution, but ladder's ladder.
Yeah.
You know I don't like that fire strike.
Yep.
Fade back. Good. Fine with me. Ryan's going turret hunting again. Okay.
Had to.
Swing, shield.
And I also knew that they were dead.
Swing, shield. Okay. Do you understand why I'm saying swing, shield here?
Actually, no. I felt like I wanted to give my supports a little bit of ult.
Oh, okay. That's fine. If you're choosing specifically to give your supports ult, that's fine with me.
Yeah, because I felt like we killed them all, so I was like, I'll take a little damage, let Lucio heal me up, because Beat's powerful. But
okay.
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, it's balanced against core, but that's fine. That's fine. If you made the active decision to take damage there, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure you knew that, you can cancel as soon as your swing has done damage and you don't undo the damage or anything.
Right.
But you do reduce the incoming damage, which would have been relevant there.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about core as much as I should have been, so that's
not a big deal. Okay.
I don't know if I blocked that or if he missed. I think he just missed.
We can always check. Replays are powerful. Clearly he just missed, because we can already see there's shatter behind you. You're just a little too far inside. His cone isn't quite wide enough yet. That's a just barely thing. And then Zarya protected over here with the bubble. So, okay.
Oh well.
So, here's the thing. I kind of want you to depend here. Why do I want you to depend here? It's not amazing, but why do I want you to do it?
We have the beat, and taking Nanoed Ryan out of commission, if at least for the few seconds that it takes me to get him back to the wall and then pushing him away from my team, it sort of balances out to where it's
Right.
advantageous for
It's
us.
not amazing, but you're not going to miss this pin. Like, his movement is too limited in here. So either he is going to counterpin you, and you're both going to fall down here, and that's perfectly fine with you, and it's taking time off of his nano, or you're going to pin him back here, which is probably less good, but at least it's taking him out of commission, like you said, while he's in nano for a bit longer. And yes, you're going to get shot by the back line, and that's just going to have to be acceptable, and is even more acceptable because you have beat going. So yes, that's why I wanted you to do this here, and that's why that would have been better than this Fire Strike. Oh,
Did the beat make the difference there?
no.
Did
I
the
would have
was
been okay with you going for that pin regardless.
okay. I was very
Um,
charge shy this game, and I generally am.
that's generally better to be charge shy than over eager with charges, but taking him
Mhm.
for a ride effectively would have been better. And there's also the possibility that he countercharges you, which is totally fine
Yeah.
with you too, right? Like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
Now I'm in a safe place that I got countercharged, and he really wouldn't be in a safe place for that countercharge. Oh my goodness! Good stuff, good stuff. You should have gotten
Should
assist
have fire
credit.
struck that.
Yeah, you should have. You also
Oh,
should
thank
have
you.
gotten assist credit for the knocking the nano in there. I think your hammer boop was part of it.
That's how I felt as I saw the kill feed, and I was like, huh?
Well, what ends up happening is... We'll actually go back because it's great. I think what ended up happening is you're hammering him in that direction, and I think he was lifted off the ground slightly. He was booped slightly by your hammer, and because he's already been booped, he can't step against the Lucio boop, if that makes sense. Like, usually you can not react to boops, but if you're pressing in the opposite direction when you get booped, they have minor value, but you've taken that away, I believe, by already having him been booped. Barely.
Oh, good.
It did. It did. Yes, the Fire Strike here would have been preferable.
Yeah, I was like, oh, shoot, I just missed my window on it.
All good. Oh, almost. Okay. Is your team here?
Probably not.
So we shouldn't be giving them shield.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is aggressive given that, you have your Torb still on the way back. They have their Lucio on the way back, so maybe that's fair, but like your team is not going to be in the place where they can swing and help yet. So like you're a second early on this. And now your team is here, but you're having to wait to get caught up on life and such before you can push. And you don't get to contribute to this grab as much as we'd have liked. Nope, you backed into the Torbolt there. You saw that there. That was an avoidable mistake. Unforced error. Don't do it.
Yeah. That's the worst one of the game, dude.
Okay. Okay.
I straight up missed, and like as soon as I hit Q, I was like, that was not the move.
Sure, sure.
I guess I should have just died there and had my shadow for next fight.
Absolutely, yes. That fight was over. One swing,
I
good.
was fairly tilted at this point. Not tilted like angry, but just like, oh man, I feel like I like can't keep my head above water right now. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like making some
And
mistakes.
you just take a breath and go, what am I working on? That's the best way out of those. What am I working on doing better? But that's okay. Because once you remind yourself it's not actually about winning the game, it's about improving, and the winning the games will just follow, it becomes less stressful that, oh, I'm getting crushed, we're losing, I'm not playing well. But what am I trying to work on?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Your shield, yeah. Until they're closer, at least. Team should still... That's weird. Why did your team get crushed there? This happens. Your team has a ton of beat health. They're down people. You guys have a Valk going. No, no, no. I'm mixing up teams. Sorry. I do that from time to time.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
We need to get the payload moving.
Okay. That time I was okay with you pushing up, perhaps while McCree was still back here. What's different about this time compared to last time? You're on it. It just you're not wanting to spit it out. I understand. It's their posturing is different. They were in more of a we need to run away. We don't feel like there's enough of us. And it's their posturing was different. It's not really that their posturing was different. It's that the reason their posturing is different is because they actually know that hey, we are down people or we feel like we're down people. It was a little more okay to push in there because they're in this we need to retreat type situation. They know that they'd overstayed their welcome. They were giving this to you for free. And that could be a trap. That could mean we're giving this to you for free because we want you to walk in because our Reinhardt is right here and he's going to fall down and shatter behind you. Or our Reaper's right here and he's going to walk in and blossom or something like that. But yes, it was about their posturing.
I don't remember why I stood in shield there. I think it was because I was aware that my Kree was coming back, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Trying to... Don't do it! Don't do it! I knew you were going to do that. Okay.
Yeah. I was trying to block that. Now that's something that I wanted to bring up because I remember during that game, as like, I'm going to be honest, I was not tracking the ult, but as soon as he pushed up, I was like, oh,
he has
shatter.
Yeah.
And I heard the voice line, and I swear, as soon as I heard the voice line, I right-clicked.
Yeah.
So, question 1, is shatter reactable off the voice line when you're that close? And question 2, it feels sometimes like swing is not cancelable into shield at the very end of swing. Is that right, or is that just something I'm feeling?
Maybe for that last part, but generally you're going to cancel earlier when you're going for cancels. Most of the time, it would have to happen to catch you in exactly the right place. So the answer is I don't know to the second part. The answer to the first part, it's not something I've really felt myself, but maybe now that I think about it. The answer to the first part is, sorry, the first part was, can you really block it at that distance? Well, the answer is at that exact distance. I mean, at any distance. Part of it comes down to latency, reaction time, etc. You did it as fast as you heard it, but how fast do your synapses fire? How fast is your internet? How far are you from the server? Like all of this matters. But the real answer is it gets a little easier even a little bit further away. And where he actually hit the shatter is brutally close. Reinhardts don't get closer than this, right? Like they don't get closer than this. Like this is actually kind of a maneuver to get the shatter off, and you sort of needed to not let this happen. And what I mean by that is, as we going here, we both know he has shatter, or maybe we don't know he has shatter, but as you see him pushing up, you're like, wait, he has shatter. You want to keep at maximum hammer distance now. It's totally fine to keep hammer swinging, but you want to keep him at your maximum hammer distance because that gives you more reaction time unless you're also trying to brute force your shatter up, right? So like,
yeah,
don't let him get close. Why did you not just step back there? Like, your hammer was still going to hit him, even if you're adjusting your distance as you're swinging this hammer. Like, did you see how he just closed distance on? Well, let's go back again. We'll do it. We'll bring this down to quarter speed. Why are you walking towards him?
Yep.
Yeah, like your hammer does just as much damage to him if you're at max hammer distance as opposed to minimum hammer distance. And now you're not walking backwards, you're like staying with him, and walking backwards makes this easier. Yeah. That's the real answer there. You needed to maintain your hammer distance a little bit. Again, you didn't have to go, oh, I can't swing at him because he has shatter, or oh, I can't let him be close enough to swing. You just needed to not let him be literally right in your face.
And so the jury's out on the whole cancelable at the very end.
I mean, we can
like-
literally go test it after this review. That's not going to bother me. We can, right? Like, it's the sort of thing where we should be able to eyeball test that or field test that pretty well, and we'll do it after we finish this. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great because it's been vexing me for a while.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is not the first time you've done this. This is not the first time you've done this. So our solution to this is anytime we decide we're going to leave cover to push into neutral territory, this would be neutral territory. This would be territory that you guys control. That's not like a fixed thing. That's just the reality of the situation on the board right now. This is neutral contested territory where no one would be safe. This is territory that's relatively safe. This is territory that is basically theirs, that is theirs effectively. Anytime you're leaving friendly territory to push into contested or enemy territory, first, where are my people?
Yep.
My people are here. Let's go. Because you've done this like 3 times now just right here.
Yeah, this was before I started doing that. This game is from like 5 days ago, and
Okay.
within the last 5 days I started checking.
Okay, good. Feels bad. Feels bad. We just watched our Torb get eliminated there. Okay, so I know...
Yeah, I didn't see the junk trap, and so I wasn't there to clear it for Torb.
Not really your job, but okay. 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 So, I still don't really want to push into this fight. Like, I get it. You're like, no, my team will just get impatient and more of them will feed, etc. And they might, and you can make that call. You can make the call of, I would rather push now as 5 correctly than not, because I think if I don't, my team will get too anxious, will be too anxiety ridden, and will just push in and get themselves eliminated, and I don't like that. So, like, I understand where you're coming from, but...
Yeah, that was the thought.
Okay, and that's fine. If you're making that calculation, I'm going to let that go. You know it's wrong, but it's not necessarily wrong in practice. So that's fine.
Yeah, I just come from a string of games where it was like, guys, group up, guys, group up, guys, group up. So I was like, 5v6 and hope something good happens. I was trying to block that.
Yep. I'm a little surprised we didn't get a fire strike along the cart there.
Yeah, here I was about to say my mind was sort of occupied with, I realized right around a little bit more, like a little bit farther. Here I was like, oh, I have no idea where I want to be right now. I don't know where I want to go.
Got it. You're going to play left side of the cart because it's your safest bet right now. It's not good because what you'd actually like to do is sort of play behind the cart, but behind the cart is about to be a problem because of the lava, right? So, like, best you got is sort of left side of the cart.
Yeah, in general, the idea of like, when is Ryan going ahead of the cart to take a corner versus when is Ryan playing behind the cart to use cover is something that cropped up a few times.
It's also totally fine with me if you actually just push up. Well, now you actually can just be like, oh, I guess we're going to fight this right here. We're going to beat this up. He's inside our group. Let's handle him. Like, this is totally fine for you to right now just go, I guess we're committing on this Torb, and that's fine. But in general, if you think that your resources are good enough right now, and it's a resource question for you to push up and fight them here, that's fine. You don't have to play behind the cart. You don't have to. It's totally fine for you to push up and go, I'm going to go fight this right now. This is less a question of the cart, that the cart is tied to it. Like, you wouldn't push up and fight them right now if the cart was back here. You would happily let them push the cart up to here. But right here, if you think you have the resources, the health, the friendlies within line of sight, the friendly resources like lamp, like flashbang, like amp, and you have lots of Rhine shield and health, yeah, you can absolutely go and take this. And especially if you think they're down people, you would want to go and take this ahead of the cart. So you can use the cart, but if that's not the case, or if you feel you're behind on resources and you need to be stabilizing, you'd be pushing this from behind the cart because might as well get a little extra distance, might as well use the cart to help us get in a little more cheaply on resources like health and Rhine Shield. Okay?
Right, right. I think I was aware that we'd used a lot of ults in the last fight, and so I was like,
Okay. Um, I'm not sure that situation's going to get better because there's only 30 seconds left. So there's probably only one real fight left. So you sort of would
yeah,
actually like to try to keep pushing and stagger and snowball them as opposed to, well, we used ults. Well, ults aren't really a resource that recover without going through a real team fight. So,
yeah, yeah.
well, okay, not just a real team fight. You know, a staggered team fight can work too. But shield, yep. Drop shield. Push back up. Get shattered.
I was not aware that he had shadow there. That surprised
Yep.
me. And I don't know if I should have known that he had shatter or if it was surprising that he had that, but it did surprise me.
Let's take a look.
It looks like he had it for a while, so I probably should have just been aware.
Yep. He's had this for a bit now. Okay, he doesn't have it here. Here's when you used your shatter. Yeah, he got his shatter back here. It's been a bit. You know, it's been a good 20 seconds, so.
Yeah, I just...
Yeah, all
just
good.
didn't
And
know.
if you'd known he had it, you would have been not quite right up in his face, but instead maybe a step back, you know, like we've talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, if we were really to talk about your biggest issues, they would be things about checking on whether your team is ready when you're pushing and appropriately surrendering corners to play to the next one. And
Mhm.
those are what I'm going to recommend you work on. Now, it's possible you've already worked on those, and those are amazing, and those are great because you've been working on them for the past 5 days, and that's fantastic if they are, but I have no way of knowing that, right? Like, you can tell
No,
me
I
that you
understand.
have, but I don't know if they've been in there. And in this game, the things that gave you the most trouble were those. If I, like, tried to move past those and be like, okay, well, there's other things, we'd talk about fire strikes, which, again, you've told me, so we'd move past that. And then we'd probably start talking about, okay, well, what does proper kiting look like into ults, or how does shatter battles work, etc. But those get a little more minute and a little lower. Like, those are valuable things, but they make up a much smaller percentage of your Reinhardt play, and therefore a smaller percentage of value to work on, if that makes sense. So we could point out those things, but I am instead going to say I want you to work on your appropriate, you know, surrendering corners when you're down on resources or when enemies sort of get past you. And I also want you to work on wow, I just
Bend,
totally.
don't break.
Well, no, I mean, that was sort of what we were saying. I also want you to work on checking on your team. Bend, don't break is really the first thing that I said there, the appropriate surrendering of corners.
Okay.
The other thing I want you to work on is the, wow, I just confused myself again because, is the checking if your team is there before pushes. Literally, it's just is my team here before I push into dangerous territory or neutral territory? They are? Great. Are they not here? Well, is that because they are in places that they can push from? Okay, still good, I'll push. Oh, it's because they're in spawn? I probably don't want to push unless I'm doing the mental calculus that opponents are also in spawn.
Right, right, right.
Okay. So those are the things that I would work on. And again, don't overwhelm yourself trying to work on the 5 things that I said here all at once. Please work on the first 2 one at a time first and do like, okay, 10% of my brain power while I'm playing. Doesn't matter if I'm playing worse. I'm thinking about, are my teammates with me? Are my teammates with me? You know, when I go, not the whole time, though you will eventually get to a point where you're thinking about that the whole time, but especially, am I checking for whether my teammates are with me before I push in or not? And you don't necessarily have to turn around every time to check, but you do have to do a mental count off of, yes, they're here, I know they're here, I just saw them type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the harder to understand thing is the, okay, how do I surrender space without giving up my life or giving up everything? And
Okay.
how aggressive can I be? So that's what I'm going to recommend, and I think those will help. I mean, I know those will help. I know if implemented properly, those will help. But if you have questions, concerns, you feel like you can't tell if they're implemented or not, definitely just let me know, and we'll go. We can go take a look, or we can go, hey, let's schedule another session. But either way, we'll get into it. But
Okay.
do all of those make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I said, I have been trying to implement them lately, but it's good to get a confirmation that those are like the big issues. And I've worked on them, but
Mm.
they're certainly not there yet. So it's good to like
Sure.
know that that's what I should be focusing on. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. And now let's do into our training range here. And let me see if I can feel the difference on the Reinhardt at the end of the swing versus the middle of it for pulling up the shield.
Okay.
I'm not going to pull out a stopwatch for this, but
Just
so this is a swing. Okay.
That right there.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Doesn't it feel just a little bit later? Like, I don't know.
No, I'm not convinced it does. Like, I get what you're saying.
Oh.
Like, I intentionally did it, but if I can shield cancel pretty quick. I think what's happening, I think it's mental. Like, I think it is mental,
Okay.
where you're like trying to actually sort of let the swing finish. Whereas even if I'm in my backswing, like, it depends what exactly we're considering the end. But was that an end one or was that too early? That one definitely
Yeah.
felt late, but like, well,
It's like, I don't. It could completely be placebo. I'm not sure.
no, there might be something at the end there. Let me see if I catch it on the other way. Yeah, it might be there. I would say 60-40 that it's there. Like, it's something that we could run real testing on, but I think I do lean towards that is there. So that's an interesting little discovery if it's there. We'll have to run some more scientific tests than I'm gonna do right this second, but you
Oh,
you
sure,
may
sure,
have found
sure.
something.
Maybe
Okay.
that'd be nice. But yeah, it just feels like when you cancel it right away, it feels like it comes up instantly, and then yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. Okay, I think we've covered all your questions then, at least to the best of our ability, maybe on this one. So, and we covered the other
Yeah,
ones.
yeah. Sorry for going over, but
Oh, it's fine. It's
thanks.
fine.
That's really illuminating.
Cool. Okay, then I think we are good to go, and I hope to see you next time. Talk to you soon.
Sure. Take care.
You too.